It is the Archangel Gabriel type, sounding the horn that spells doom for her foes from afar. It is GBL00 Gabrivan, with the kit of Rebirth, Longshot, Wide Break, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Rising, which is a new leg ability. Explaining this ability briefly, it will buff all leg stats, minus armor and heavy limit, for every attacking action completed. Specifically for Gabrivan, it is shooting-based skills in order to activate this. Now, as a brand new model being introduced to the game, I was kind of expecting maybe a Cupid or a Valentine's Day model, especially given the time of season of her debut, but all the same, Gabrivan is definitely debuting nothing new to the table aside from her leg ability, but what makes her so unique is the fact that she's debuting skills that were normally exclusive either to gender N or male type bots exclusively, which will serve as a major game changer for mono female based teams going forward. Rebirth is a healing-based skill that, once activated, will fully revive and resurrect a fallen ally back on the field at 10% HP to all parts. And at this point, this is honestly a very good way to keep the fight going as long as the leader doesn't die. And that means even if you're only at 10% HP, it honestly means it's better than not having them back at all and having to fight at a disadvantage. Longshot is a conventional shooting skill with a conditional damage bonus. With that, it means that the farther away the target is from you, either closer to the starting position or just distance in general, it will deal additional punish damage for that. Whereas the closer the target is to you, such as just barely outrunning them to the line or taking your turn right after theirs, it will deal relatively average if not minimal damage aside from the base number given. Wide Break is a gravity attribute skill that is basically break but in AoE. So that means instead of dealing pierce damage when punishing heavy targets, it will have its damage modifier as an AoE instead. So again, it will gain a damage bonus relative to the number of heavy parts used. 2 or more is great, 1 or none, not so much. But it will be an AoE, so even if it doesn't break anything right away, it will make it very easy for this model to come back with a second wind and finish them off much, much easier. Biped Legs means that this Archangel type will have relatively solid coverage across most terrains, and that's excluding her leg ability on top of that. With a base mobility of 815, which she's already off to a very good start with her base speed, and she will have a relatively good time running to and from with very little to get in her way. An evade of 977 is more or less kind of average, really can't say anything yay or nay against it. May not dodge everything, but something of very poor or very low success, she probably shouldn't have too much of a difficult time dodging or grazing it. A melee resist of 616 is definitely not great though, as this means that even if she will not take massive amounts of punish damage from melee skills, this does mean that she is going to take a considerably noticeable amount of more damage from melee skills. Whereas a shoot resist of 1022 kind of rounds that out a little bit better to kind of even out her lower stat there. But key word here with my phrasing is the word base. If you factor in her leg ability on top of that, every time she fires off a shot, either from Longshot or Wide Break, or any kind of shooting skill you choose to use with her, all of her leg stats minus her armor and her heavy limit will go up considerably by a certain percentage, and stack up to 5 times. If I do recall the percentage correctly, it was about 7.9% or so, round up to 8, which means after about 5 uses, that's almost a 30 to 40% buff to all leg stats you see there, as long as she can fire off 5 shots to fully power it up. And again, as a reminder, it has to be shooting skills specifically to power this up. Her armor across the board is relatively shaky too, not necessarily like super fragile, but not like super tanky either, with a head HP of about 3250, a right arm of about 3100, left arm at just barely shy of 3k, and her legs at about 3500. She is moderately healthy in the armor pool, but a good melee hit will cripple her moderately quickly. It is honestly worth noting though, and it is going to be nice to see these legs seen more and more often, given that they can support 2 heavy parts and have a relatively solid leg ability on top of that, geared towards shooter types. That being said, as a pure set score, I do honestly have to rate Gabrivan a very solid 7 out of 10. I really can't say much against her kit in particular because she actually has moderately good synergy with herself, and essentially as a one-man or one-woman cannon, she can kind of hold her own moderately well too. Both of her arms can be used to contribute toward her leg ability, and if she's not alone on the field, any fallen allies can be resurrected via Rebirth and kind of keep the fight going in her favor just a little bit longer. And even if she may not be dealing the highest amount of damage possible, it is also worth noting that she is debuting Longshot and Wide Break for female-based teams only, which means even if she's not super powerful or super broken, this will definitely spell a huge game changer for people trying to make mono female teams geared towards shooting mastery. As mixed parts score for this very same reason, I do have to rate her a very equal 7 out of 10 as well. Rebirth, you really can't ever go wrong with using if you need it on a healing build. Longshot and Wide Break are both very solid skills you really can't ever go wrong with using. And even if they are heavy-based parts, that's really nothing that's going to stop you from being able to use them conventionally and easily, as long as you can factor in the heavy limit in your team. And lastly, the rising leg ability is also going to be very interesting to see going forward, and even if you choose not to use her as a pure set, pairing off those legs with, say, Ben Tensada's Microwave as an example, power it up 3 or 4 times with a conventional rifle or Gatling part, and then use Microwave will probably spell a lot of very dangerous potential for something you can fire off very, very quickly with almost little to get in your way.